Hello, hello, everybody. Oh, look at that friendly faces, Chris and Kathy. I love it, Linda. Dwight, it's been a while, my friend. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. We got Frank and uh let's see, Frank, Pat. Okay, now it's all moving around. Jasmine, Johnny, Julio. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Helena. Yeah, there we go. Yay. All right, so we're gonna kick off. Want to start with, for those of you that haven't been on our calls before, or those that have actually, let's start with, you know what? We have a diverse crowd today. It is not all real estate. Can you believe it? So make sure that you put your, go up to your name and do as I've done, put your profession, location, and a way to contact you as your name. So that, and that's a tip you can use for getting referrals when you get on Zoom. I just build mine into my name by default on Zoom, so you can change your name that way we know where you are and what you do. So I'm going to turn off my waiting room now so people can just come in. So if you happen to get dropped during this, you can just pop back on and you'll be good to go. So Pat, awesome, hello, so good to see you. All right, awesome. Okay. So here's the thing. This is gonna be interactive, right? We are gonna, this is an interactive training. This is not just one way Tommy talking the whole time. So we're gonna talk about events. And I want to just sort of start by, on top of saying welcome and thanks for coming, is um we're not, I am not going to try to convince you to do events. I'm going to assume, and I think it would be pretty accurate to say, if you're on a webinar about part of your way to success, the total blueprint to get host events to get referrals, you're probably interested in doing events, or you already do events and you're looking for the 1 degree tweaks. Is that fair to say? Yeah, okay, good. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time building up why you should do events. Instead, I want to help you with the events you're already doing, or for those of you who are curious about how to do events, give you the main elements that will make them more successful than you can possibly imagine. And there's a number of people that are going to share some stories around that. So does that sound good? So cool, awesome. All right, so with that, I want to know first where you all are at in terms of your events. So just do me a favor in the chat box. If you already do events of some kind, of any kind, put a 1. If you are not doing a lot of events, or it's been a long time since you've done an event, put a 2, just so I kind of know where you guys are at. Kind of figured I'd have a lot of 1s, but just want to make sure. Okay, cool. So Dwight is curious. A lot of people already doing them. Jasmine's curious. Awesome. Okay, great. Kelly, hello. Awesome. All right. Okay, good. So a good mix there. A few people. Okay, so for those of you who are already doing events, and if you're in Gen, you're not allowed to answer. Well, if you've taken Event Master, you're not allowed to answer. So those of you already doing events, uh, could you just share with me what is the one, what is your biggest challenge with events in general? What you're doing the events, maybe you can give a little background too. You can come off mute, by the way. Just I think you could just come off mute. I don't think we have to raise hands. I think we're intimate enough if you want to. Follow up. Okay, that's it. Helena, fair enough. That works. Yeah, follow up. The follow up. Okay. Follow up from the events. All right. Interesting. Okay, and then so go ahead and chime in, those of you that are joining in. If you're already doing events, what is your biggest challenge with those events? For those of you who are not doing events, but you're curious, what is like the number one, I don't want to call it a fear, but what's the number one, what's the big missing piece that would make you go, okay, if I had this, I would do events, or that you're looking to kind of shorten the learning curve? Getting sponsors to help pay for it. Perfect. Good. We're going to cover that for sure. Yes. The payment, right? Or the cost, right? So a lot of the time that becomes a fun. Okay, getting agents to commit sometimes and then show up if something changes in schedule. Gotcha. Okay, we definitely can help with that on the as well. Okay, good. Biggest bang for your buck. Yeah, exactly. Efficiency, right? Let's go. Yeah. Okay, good. Awesome. All right. Any others? Just to Anything that pops off, any ideas? Georgie, welcome. Trying to grab people as you come in. Okay. All right. So that's about it. So we've got some of you that are, hey, I want to do events, and my main concern is sponsorship and attendance, right? And then, okay, who we should invite? Okay, good, awesome. Okay, good. So knowing who to invite. Okay. All right, good. So that gives me, I want to tailor this, right? Because this material is like all of this, right? But I can hone it a little bit. So and you don't do sponsors at all. Okay, you're gonna love this, Pat. You are gonna love this. Okay, good. All right. So I'm gonna go over to the PowerPoint. Like I said, still gonna be listen, here's the thing. The PowerPoint is more because I will go down a rabbit hole and get up on a on a I'll go on some rant on something. The PowerPoints keep me on track as much as it is for you guys to visually. So I'm really just have the PowerPoint there to make sure that I hit on the things I'm supposed to hit on, because otherwise, those of you that know me know I'll go completely down a rabbit hole or get up on a soapbox sometimes. So all right, so I'm gonna pull up the PowerPoint and let's get cooking. I have a million PowerPoint slides open. That's fun. All right. Okay, so welcome. So, oops, sorry, wrong button. Move that slideshow. Beginning. Okay, so welcome everyone to the presentation. So this presentation is really hosted in by the Brew Crew, which if you're not in our Facebook group, you can go to joinbrewcrew.com. We have an Orlando edition of an event. It's a coffee, it's a mastermind, it's all about communications. And then we also, Bryce Morrison, who's on here, runs a virtual event that's also mastermind. I know Helena's involved with that and goes every now and then. So that is kind of the host of all of this, so to speak. So today we're going to cover all about events and what it takes to have not only a successful event, but most importantly, have events that make money without it being like super salesy. So a couple things to note for those, look, most of you know me. I'm not going to belabor this too much here, but for those that don't know, my name is Tommy Sandvik, or Tommy with an H, as I'm known. I'm a certified referral trainer with that guy, Michael J. Mayer, the author of 7L. I'll talk about him in a moment. I'm a certified high performance coach, founder of Upgrade Coaching, and the local organizer for an event called Thrill the World Orlando, where we do Thriller with people all around the world. Also co-founder of the Brew Crew. So the one thing I want you to know really about all this is none of this is my material. This is actually all Michael's material, the vast majority of it. However, I have just simply been the one to, number one, implement it and get results from it, and then started helping others implement it and get results from it. And so just know, I just want to be upfront about that, that it really is, he is a genius behind the content. I am just the messenger and the guide to help those who want to implement the system, because I've been doing it for a while. So that said, let's start with the journey. So how many of you have spent a lot of time networking and not gotten much from it? Going to a million events. Yeah, man. Yes. Yeah. So out networking, going to events, join an industry exclusive networking group, involved in the chamber, involved in Rotaries, right? Chris and Kathy are like, that's our start. We're gonna get to them, right? So that was me. I knew that relationships and referrals are gonna be the way I wanted to grow my business. But I was out networking like crazy, and it seemed like I knew everybody, but I wasn't getting any referrals. And unfortunately, in the sales world, what do they tell you when you start in any business? Real estate, insurance, network marketing, financial advisor, it's all the same, right? They go, all right, number one, you need to make a list, talk to your warm market. And then they're like, it's like, well, what do I do after that? Door knock, cold call, buy leads, social media content you could add in there, right? Those are the options. No one could give me a playbook on how I could just have a lot of fun and make people feel awesome and also get business from it. And so I went looking for a solution. Everything I found, to be clear, I was a healthcare broker at the time, group healthcare broker. So I was in the B2B, business to business space. I was looking for employers who already offered healthcare who might be open to saving money or getting better service, basically. And yes, exactly, Pat. Yeah, 100%. In an organization for 12 years and only one buyer. Yeah. So that's what happens. And I all anyone could do was be like, well, you just got to ask. Like sit down at a one-to-one and be like, well, listen, we've known each other for a while now. And I think it's time, why don't you just go through my sales process so you know how exactly to refer me? Or, hey, write down the names of people. Who do you know that, who can you refer me to? And it's like, I just couldn't do it. I needed them to raise their hand. It felt inauthentic to me. And I just refused to take that approach. It just wasn't for me. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not knocking anyone that doesn't. I'm just saying it was not me. So I literally Googled, how do you go from relationships to referrals? And I stumbled across the book, The 7 Levels of Communication by Michael J. Mayer. And truth be told, I was skeptical as hell because I had been down the path with gurus. I was really tired of paying money with the promise of a return on my investment and that whole thing. That's, oh, pay me $10,000 and then you'll make money, right? I was really frustrated by that. And so I Googled Michael's name. Like, I mean, I read the book and I love the book, but that didn't mean that I was really ready to believe, because everything in the book was counter to what I had been taught when it came to traditional sales and marketing and networking, for that matter. And so I Googled everything I finally could. And I did a call with Coach, which, if you've read how many of you have read 7L? Just help me know. Okay, cool. So you don't have to have read 7L to understand the event system. That's a beautiful part of the events. And it was definitely going to be helpful if you do read it. The more you come, the more education. And it's a great book. It's got over 100 referral generating strategies in it. But the point is, I read the book and I'm thinking, okay, what do I do now? Which is usually what people do. They read the book and they go, now what? So I did a call with Coach and I thought, okay, love, generosity, and appreciation. Let's see how generous they're really going to be willing to be. Am I just going to get a sales pitch on a call for some high ticket coaching program, which is exactly what I had experienced with every other guru that I went down the path with, right? No. Instead, I sat in the Walgreens parking lot. My bank account was negative. I could not afford to buy handwritten notes, which is what is in the book as kind of the first step. I couldn't afford the notes. I couldn't afford the stamps, right? So, as Lord knows, stamps keep going up. So they gave me some strategies and they said, hey, send out this, do that. They gave me no cost strategies. From those strategies, I ended up having multiple conversations with my network. I then got my very first benefits client from my network, who became my #1 ambassador because I started implementing the system. And that was just like a small piece. It was just enough for me to go, okay, I believe. So once I got that happening and I saw that it was working, then I went, okay, I'm all in. So instead of paying my electric bill in November of 18, I signed up for group coaching. I wanted access to be around Michael and really get to know him more, right? And really absorb the material. And I was just so impressed with his teaching style. I was impressed with the generosity. Not only was he leading with, but the people in his organization were leaning with. And I just knew, like, I found my home. In December of 18, my cars went into repossession. I'm telling you, it was bad, people. It's bad. The cars went into repossession. But he came out with a webinar that was all about how to do events. Now, I have been doing events, but I couldn't figure out how to get the return. Who is going to show up? Are the right people showing up? I never know any time. I'm doing all this work. I'm still not making any money. I don't want it to be salesy. How the heck do I do this? And I signed up for Event Mastery instead of like, I literally went and hid my cards for the night, got that dealt with, right? But I'm just sharing that to say I did not have the money, but my back was against a wall. And I knew I had really no other choice. And at that point, I trusted him because the strategies freaking work. And that was back at the beginning of Event Mastery. So, I mean, several years, right? So I did Event Mastery. I did my first event. I then went into one-on-one coaching, and I went group to one-on-one, just like that, within 6 months, into one-on-one. Again, couldn't really afford it, but I wanted to cut the learning curve. And then I did my second event and my third event. And by the third event, I got 25 referrals in one day for group healthcare, B2B. So I say that to say, I hope to say in that is, that's the journey that I've been on. I'm going to share then the things along the way, the critical elements to that, and pull back the curtain on how we did it all. Right, a lot's happened since then, but that's the foundation of the story. Right, so obviously after that, I kept going with it. I became a CRT. I partnered up. I created coaching. I started helping other people. I was helping other people before I was even a CRT with it because I knew it worked. So, and you're going to hear from some of those people also. So, all right. So back to the screen. Okay. So when we're doing events, the challenge is, as I said, right, attendance and that sort of thing. So I'm going to give you basically what I'm going to do is give you 6 tips on how to run these events that get referrals. So tip number 1 is the success is in the planning. Now, what most people do is throw together an event with not thinking through all the elements, and it can become very hectic, number 1, and they end up doing it all themselves. Number 2, it's frantic, and they spend a lot of energy and time, and quite frankly, just a lot of stress in hosting the event. So it's important. The first step is having the plan around the elements of the event so that it becomes effortless, especially over time as you get better and better at doing it. Now, there's a couple things I want to share before I go into specifics of the plan. There's a couple things to share when it comes to what type of event and kind of the spirit of this. So for those of you that, again, haven't read 7L, the foundation of all of this is you're building a business on love, generosity, and appreciation. So love is a human superpower. Generosity is love in action. And appreciation is love in reaction. So the spirit behind these events is generosity and appreciation. That's the foundation. So that's first and foremost, that's the heartbeat of the event. We're taking, we're giving, and we're appreciating people for their referrals effectively. The second element to this event, it is not an education event. What I'm going to teach you today is not about how to do an education event. There's a place for education events. You're at one, clearly, but there's a place for education events. But it comes after this event. Okay. So this event is all about just having fun. It is literally just bring people together, give them a fun time, and if you have the systems in place we're going to talk about, you can create the ROI on it. But the type of event is fun, and the type of event is for your sphere. It's for the people you know primarily. Now, can you have other people? Absolutely. Can you post it on social and Eventbrite? 100%. But the foundation of it, the heartbeat of the event, are the people that already like, know, and trust you. And the people that the people that already like, know, and trust you and their friends. So I go into this with 3 core questions, or I call them like 3 questions to unlock your potential when it comes to events, to ask yourself when you're putting together an event. So the first question is, will they show up? Which, by the way, people love fun. So if you make it fun, they're more likely to show up. And then when you use our system, they're even more likely, right? You go from 20% show up to 80% show up when you use the system. So number 1, are they going to show up? Number 2, so many people don't think about this. Will they come to the next one? Will they come to the next one? Is the event such a great experience that the next time you invite them, they're like, oh my God, I'm in. Whatever you're doing, I'm in. That's the experience that you want people to walk away with from the events. And then the third And this comes to, for those that may have a small sphere, or you're getting going in a new city, or you just haven't been building by relationships, so you have to start that process. This one comes into really important. It's, will they show up? Will they come back? And will they bring a friend the next time? That's how you can grow organically with others bringing people to you, instead of having to go out and meet 5 strangers, add 5 people a day to your database, or whatever that stuff is that they teach you, right? We can just host an event and get people who already like, know, and trust you to bring a friend. And then guess what happens? Your database grew with people and you get a transfer of trust. So automatically the relationship is higher because of that. So those are the 3 questions I think are important to put the lens through whenever you're planning an event. So, so let's talk about the plan. Okay, so just to recap. Number 1, it's fun. Number 2, it's for your sphere. It is not educational in this particular case. If you have questions about the education part and how that fits in after I do everything, we can come back to that, okay? Cool. All right, so let's start with a plan, right? So the success within the planning. So first part of the plan. Well, like I said, number 1, it's got to be fun. So not only does it need to be fun, but we need to name it something that is going to draw people. ChatGPT is amazing with this. I cannot take credit for most of the event names that we've come up with. It really does come down to ChatGPT, but have a name for your event that's fun. Do not call them client appreciation events. For the realtors, that kicks in RESPA, but also if you say client appreciation events, it creates exclusion. So then people aren't going to want to come because they're not a client. So this is like, you're inviting everybody. You want them to come, and so you don't want to call it a client appreciation event. So you need a fun name. So here's Steve is doing Lakeside Barbecue and Fun. We've got Brenda is doing the Kryptonite Club, which shout out to Bryce for the design on this one. He does a lot of the design for our clients. Biz and Brews was a fun one that we did. Just literally taking the idea of networking and a happy hour and putting it together with a fun name. So come up with a fun name is the first thing. Call it, again, many different ways you can do it. What I typically do is I'll put in ChatGPT, give me a name, here's what we're doing. Here's kind of the hook, free drink or free food or whatever the hook is, and kind of set the theme. And then I'll ask it to give me names with a blank and blank, or blank, blank, and blank. And that's how Biz and Brews, as example, or Lakeside Barbecue and Fun kind of came as a result of that. Okay, so number 1, name it fun. Now, there's a couple, we just did Margarita Mix and Mingle. You'll hear more about that later. Nacho Average Happy Hours. We've had multiple people do Nacho Average Happy Hour because it's really simple, right? That's the core thing, especially in your first event, is keep it super simple. But what I want to ask you is, what do you notice in similarities? You have to put in the chat, I think. What do you notice in similarities between these two? Now we're talking about planning. What are the things in these 2 invitations that are in both? What are 2 things that are in both? What commonalities do they have? And I'll help you eliminate. They have a name, they have date, time, location, and they have first drink or free apps or whatnot. And they have an RSVP. So I'm narrowing it down for you a little bit. What are the 2 things that are in these that are the same in both? Not the same, but they are contained in both. Sponsors, yes, perfect. And charity. So giving the or pass as a charity. Yes, exactly. So have the first thing is have a plan as part of the planning sequence. Plan who to partner with when it comes to definitely when it comes to sponsors, right? Because if it's all on your shoulders, it's a lot harder. But if you go into it well enough in advance and start having conversations, it doesn't become so like frantic, to get that support. So you can absolutely get sponsors, and we build that into the system. So in your planning, you want to look at who, and here's the thing, sponsors can be anybody. Like, I mean, really, it doesn't have to just be around your industry. Anyone who wants to be in front of consumers can be a sponsor. And if you're doing B2B, then anyone that wants to be in front of a B2B crowd could definitely be a sponsor. So now the one thing about that, But anyway, okay. And then the other one, sorry, let me go back. And then the other one was a charity. So partnering with a charity. So in the planning sequence, we take a look at who do we want to partner with for sponsors, and then who do we want to partner with for charity. We're always have a give back component to the events. That will draw people. I have literally, I had a client do an event once. She had like her lender and basically the sponsors and like another agent or two, her friend, and then had one person show up. And the other person came by and literally just showed up to drop off stuff for the charity and had to go, but showed up just for that purpose. So technically, she had two people show up, even though it was super fast, just for that, just because they wanted to make the donation. So it still created the opportunity to have a conversation and to see that person again, right? By the way, she got 2 referrals from that one person that showed up. So, you truly never know. So have a partner with sponsors, partner with a charity. Okay. Now, the second thing we need to plan for is the return on investment, right? The hard part, right? We're like, we need to make money off of this, right? So here's the thing. What we do is we have 3 referral systems that have a referral system that's built into the process. And I'm going to show you where in the process those systems are. But we have a way to ask people to refer us, not verbally though, entirely through electronic forms. So it's not awkward. They don't have to answer the question. They don't have to give a referral if they don't have one, but it gives them the opportunity to give the referral. Now, it also gives the opportunity for them to give referrals to your sponsors, to your partners. So now, when you're going to have the conversation with your partners about working together, you have something more to give them. No, do you want to guarantee referrals? Maybe not, but you can at least say, hey, you're going to have that opportunity, right? Among other things that we do as part of the event to highlight the sponsors. So the referral system for me, the referral system was the magic sauce because and at the time we only had 1 referral system. Now we have 3. But that was really the thing that made me go like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? It's brilliant. So what you can do over time, and I'm just sharing this, some of you, this is like, might seem a little much, but I want to paint the picture of what's possible. When you have a sponsor program, you can create something for your events that allows you to not just get a sponsor for that event, but get a sponsor for multiple events as well. And you can create levels to those sponsorships. So this is our actual Thrill the World sponsorship for this year, our sponsor program for this year. And what we do is we create 3 levels and then put a price on each level and just change the value prop for each level. So you can see in here, get referrals from our 3 referral systems is checked across the board. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. So when you're having those conversations, like no one sponsors and gets referrals, right? Like it doesn't happen. You sponsor a charity, or not charity, sponsor a chamber event, or it's like get the booth, big logo, 60 seconds in front of the room, nobody's listening anyway, right? That doesn't, like, it's hard to really measure that. But with this, it really does make a difference. And it makes people want to go in. And anyway, I could go on all day. So partner with the sponsors, have the referral systems, and then build a sponsor program. Once you've gotten used to the system, you can build this, and there's literally no end to it. Like the best side hustle is hosting events because you can profit from the sponsorships from running the events, regardless of if you get any referrals for your primary business or not. That's the magic behind it. So big picture. All right. All right, one more, and then we're gonna pause here for a few questions. Okay, now the next part of the plan is communication. You've got to have a communication plan so you know how you're going to get people to the event. Not a marketing plan, communication plan, because we're communicating with friends. And so how do we do that? Well, what most people do is like throw it up on social media and put it on Eventbrite and maybe invite a couple people when they see them or whatever, and then just pound their email list and just to try to get people to the event. Well, what we teach is right out of 7L, is this is a communication pyramid for those that haven't seen it. The idea here is when you're operating at advertising, direct mail, and electronic communication, that's for informing people about what's coming, about what's going on. But if you want them to actually, if you want to influence them to take action, that needs to be in what we call the influential zone. And that's phone calls, events, and one-on-one meetings. So have a plan to utilize all levels of the pyramid to invite people to the event. And when you do that, because you're hitting on different, you're not just pounding email, you're not just posting over and over again, but because you're using a multimodal touch approach, you're not like annoying them, but they really get the sense that you want them there. And you're just making sure that they got your invitation. So it's a really, this is another thing of, hey, how do you know who's going to show up? Well, with a communication plan in place that does this, you know who's going to show up because you're tracking your RSVPs along the way, every step of the way. So that's the other part of the plan. So have the plan to sponsor, have the plan to communicate, and have a plan for the ROI, right? Okay, so here's I'm gonna come off a share. All right, that's enough PowerPoint for a while. Okay, now my question to you, just to get you thinking, what is a fun activity that you love to do? You can raise hand, come off mute, whatever. What's a fun activity you love to do?
Tommy, you know mine is dancing.
Yes, dancing. Oh my gosh. There's coffee raves now. Like,
Wow.
yeah, we are so all over this. Like, let's take coffee and put it together with dance music and boom. Yeah, we're excited. You got to come over July 12th. There's one in Orlando we got to go to. All right, bowling, dance, Zumba. Yes, good, perfect. Yes. Okay, good. So, like, that's a type of event you can do. You can literally anything you can think of that's fun, you can do it with friends and you get sponsors to pay for it at the end of the day. Eating, yes, food, food events, yes. I love it. Okay, good. Okay. So just to get you thinking, right? So in terms of what you'd like to do, what kind of event you would like to do if you had an entire system to do it, right? So all right, awesome. Eating, bowling, dance, Zumba.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah.
I was looking at all your flyers. Are there any particular ones that seem to attract more people? Like, do happy hours attract more people or less? Or, I know
Yeah.
it depends on who your people are. I get that, but is there some things that you're like, you know what, your ROI on this particular type would probably be a little bit higher than others.
Yeah, not from the return perspective. It
Okay.
it really doesn't matter. It's far more, doesn't matter with attendance. Yeah, like the people who come to Thrill the World are a very different tribe than come to a happy hour at night, are a very different tribe that come to a coffee event in the morning. The invitations generally are the same, but yeah, and then for the other events, right? Movie theater or so. So there's an element of like family events. There's different kind of categories, right? There's family events. There's
Yep.
definitely the
Yep.
working adult happy hour events. There's,
Yeah.
I call it like activity driven, which would be like axe throwing or bowling or things that,
Right. Right.
but ultimately, it is a little bit of learning, just being like, I'm going to try this and see what happens. I started with, what do you love to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's important to be excited about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the other part about that is polling the audience
Yeah.
about what they would like. I was 3 events in. I kept doing the happy hours, and I got to the beginning of 2020, and I polled the audience, like, what would you be most likely to attend? Happy hour, mastermind, a couple other options.
Mm-hmm.
My top 10 came back and said mastermind. So
Oh,
I'm like, oh, okay. So I did a mastermind, and which is kind of happy. And that was really the first foray into like a quote unquote educational event. But that
right.
is they offered. Now I wanted to. I was ecstatic at that. Right. I was
Right.
getting burned out on happy hours. So there is that element. But what you can do is say, well, I'd like to do this event because I would be excited about doing it. Let me poll the audience,
Yeah.
see if it kind of confirms my thought, and then you can make the decision ultimately that you want to make. But that's been a big, I mean, that's how Brew Crew came about, actually, was through that also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does, and it does also depend on you're inviting your sphere, but again, you can also segment that into interests or obviously like 9 to 5 employees, very different than the entrepreneur crowd in terms of like what they're going to find enjoyable. So you can subdivide that a bit.
Got it.
So yeah, good question. Good question. Okay, cool. Any other? I do want to start. We got 4 more sequences or 5 more, so but I want to stop. Make sure. Any other questions on what we've covered so far? What's one thing that stood out positively about what I've shared so far, just in the planning sequence?
Don't call it a client appreciation event.
Hey, good. Okay, good. Awesome. Yes. Fun events. Okay, good. All right, we're gonna keep going. Listen, if it's okay with you guys, I'm gonna speed up a little bit. Is that cool with you guys? All
Yep.
right. I actually have this block for an hour and a half. I don't know how well that was communicated, so I want to make sure that you get what you need out of it. So okay. So I'm gonna roll a bit. Okay. All right, next up. So okay, so tip number 2, and this is where referral system 1 exists, is in the invitation. The power is in the invitation. So there's nothing more attractive. What's the number one reason why we don't follow up from a networking event? What's the number one reason why we don't follow up with a lead that we have that came through an open house or indicated interest in our service? What's the number one reason why we just don't follow up? It's usually just because we don't have a reason to. We don't have a reason to that isn't, hey, are you ready to buy my stuff right now? That's the number one reason why people don't follow up. So when you have an event coming and being lazy, there's also that, right? When you have an event coming, you have a reason to reach out that is not related to what you do. And that is where the magic sauce is. We had someone that Donna Tyler had done an event, and the guy she's a realtor, and this guy was like in an apartment. His lease was going to be ending, and kind of, met her. I don't know if she knew her from somewhere before, but anyway, came to the event, told her that, raised his hand on the invite on the referral system that he was looking to buy, sell, or invest. And then she followed up like they tell you to follow up, to send the tags, hey, checking in, real estate needs, blah, 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 right? Crickets, nothing. Then she did her next event. She reached out with the invitation. He responded to the invitation. He said, I'm pre-approved. My lease ends in 30 days. I need to move. Just like, I mean, it doesn't get much hotter than that, right? For a buyer. And he told her he had gone to other open houses. He had talked to other realtors, but he chose her because of her communication. That was in the difference. So the power really is in the invitation. And here's the other magical part. If the reason for the communication is the invitation to the event, and the number one reason why we don't, like, consistent communication creates consistent opportunity and referrals, right? So if the reason why we don't communicate is we don't have the reason to communicate, but now we have that reason, we create the consistency that we're looking for in the business, and it's done in this authentic way. So anyway, my point is, if you communicate with the invitation, as you're going through the communication, the invitation sequence, if they don't come to the event, here's the big thing. Attendance is great. Yes, we want people at the event. I've never had someone do an event where nobody showed up. Never. Right? Like I said, even if it's one guest and then she got 2 referrals, still had somebody at the event. But even that being the case, if they don't show up, it's okay. Because of the system, the real true point is the communication. It's the reason for the communication. So if they don't show up, great. It didn't cost you anything. And because there's a referral system built into the RSVP process anyway, you still have the opportunity for them to directly raise their hand to work with you. So the power truly is in the invitation, and it gives you that reason to communicate, right? So I want to showcase when Klain just did his second, or not second, he just had his biggest event ever. But this goes all the way back to when he started. His first event had 29 invitations go out, 26 people attended, got 14 referrals. He's a lender in Utah. And disclaimer, no guarantee of earnings, right? It's the referrals that we focus on. But that created so much momentum. And then now he's just been consistent. He is so consistent that he's incredible at consistency. He just did an event yesterday with 100 confirmed RSV, 100 confirmed people. I don't know how many showed up yet, but he had 100 people after going through the confirmation sequence. Had 100 people ready to come to the event, and he was doing it solo. He wasn't partnering. It's crazy. He's built such a tribe, and his entire business is built on this. So he understands that invitation process is so important. So, yeah, there you go. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go to, I want you to start thinking about like, who do I invite, right? So thriller, yay. Okay, we're gonna keep in the theme, but let's go to the movies for a second. Because the who to invite question, who do I invite? Well, you've got a sphere, obviously, but how do you then prioritize your communication? And if you are gonna like poll the audience and kind of get some ideas, who do you do? So we call this a movie theater exercise. What you want to think through in the database, especially when you're getting started with this system, is not so much about the referral, and it's not at all actually about the referrals or even the value to your business. What you want to do is look through your database and think like, who is the most generous person you know? Who's the most appreciative person you know? And then who multiplies the energy in the room when they enter? And like really think about who are those people that when you interact with them, they leave you better than when you started. And then put that in the context of like you had a movie theater and you only got 25 spots and you could choose who your top 25 would be to be in that room, and you were doing it based on awesome, generous, appreciative, energetic people. Who would those people be? So just to, in terms of building the invite list, what we have you do is go through in increments of 25 and build like your top 150 list of people that would be in there, like in a movie theater. And that becomes your invitation list for your first event, basically. That's kind of the foundation of it. I really like putting the emphasis on the generosity and appreciation because it hones our focus towards those values and to others who are espousing those, showing those values. And those are the people you want in the room. You want loving, generous, appreciative people in the room, and you're going to have a high to the event. It just brings another level. So that's how you kind of create your list, right? Your invitation list. So again, we do that mainly during the planning process. I'm a fan of having the entire list done in advance, like up to 150, I usually say. And then rather than adding as I go, I'd rather just get it all done in advance. But that's just personal preference. All right, tip number 3, the attendance is in the confirmation. Okay, so now you've reached out to people. How do you get people to actually show up, right? Because usually, to your point about, hey, are we going to get a drop off? How do we get them when last minute stuff comes up? Well, the number one way to go from 20% show up rate and get up to 80, right? I typically have 50, not typically lower than 50% if I don't do the confirmations. But you can get as high as 80, sometimes even higher than 80 when people start bringing friends, a percent show up rate. And the way we do it is after you've done the invitations, you're collecting the RSVPs. Now you've got to confirm their attendance. And what we do is I do like I personally do a 1-week confirmation, a 3-day confirmation, and then like a day of. So kind of do 3. In those confirmations, there are typically text messages. And in those confirmations, what I'm doing is, number one, reminding them of the charity component. So that's the one, I put the charity one in the 7-day reminder because it gives them enough time to think about it and be reminded, oh yeah, I got to stop and get this or whatever it is. So 7 days out, hey, looking forward to seeing you. The event's 1 week away. Just a reminder, we're accepting contributions for blah, blah, blah charity. Let me know what you're going to bring, or there's a list available here, or here's some of the items, or whatever. You put that in the text message. So giving them that information. Then 3 days before, I reconfirm date, time, at least date and time, on when it starts. I mean, I literally had someone not come to an event because she had the time wrong in her head, and I hadn't put the time in the confirmation. So I was reminded of how important it is to re-emphasize the time of the event in the confirmation message. And then on the day of the event, I will put, hey, excited to see you today. Here's the address, address. Why? One-click navigation. If they're using Waze, Google Maps, anything, they can just click on that and they can navigate. And then I will also give them parking information. Even if there's a boatload of parking, I'm going to tell them there's a boatload of parking. If there's not a lot of parking, I'm going to tell them there's limited parking, but there's also street parking or whatever. I'm going to obviously make it a positive, but what I'm looking to do, especially for those of you in bigger cities, I want to remove every barrier to them not showing up and make it seem and feel effortless to get to the event. We've also had scenarios where like we had access challenges that we didn't know was going to happen. And because I had this confirmation list ready to go, I was able to push out information to all the attendees to give them updated information on how to get to our event. So it was another really just important experiential thing that not only gets them to show up, but it makes them go like, wow, the communication is on par. Think about it. How often do you get a confirmation text to an event that you're going to on a local level? Like no one does it. At least I've not done it. Yes, I use Reach. Well, to be more specific, I do use Reach most of the time. When I have a bigger event like Margarita Mix and Mingle, there's a company called Project Broadcast. It is a text message service that it's $7 a month, and then it operates on credits. So the $7 a month keeps my number, and then I just buy the credits when I need them. I also use it for Thrill the World. In that scenario where I've got 100 people, I don't want to use Reach because I got to sit there and tap, right? I will just use that and broadcast it out. Projectbroadcast.com, Linda.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yep. Good question. Yeah. So that's how I do the confirmations. And again, that comes to different sizes and events and when you start to really grow with this also, right? But yeah, confirmation sequence. I have a confirmation sequence. Okay. Tip number 4, the energy is in the event, which is also where referral system number 2 is. So at the event, again, something that I learned, and honestly, at my first event, I didn't do this well, is have a registration table. There's Mary Moulet demonstrating our from Margarita Mix and Mingle. Have a registration table and then have someone else running registration. Do not run registration. Please do not run registration. I did at my first event. I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't want to ask people to help, right? And I hadn't yet figured out that people want to help. You just got to give them the opportunity. So I ran it and I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off because I'm trying to run the registration and someone wants to talk to me and it wasn't good. So the idea here is you have someone at registration that's going to take people through the check-in process, and then you hang back from the registration table. I don't care if everyone's gathering at the front, I stay in the back because what I want to do is draw them in, and then they come up to me to get this kind of the second part of this is called the golden ticket strategy. So when we ran like Margarita Mix and Mingle, we each had tickets. The hosts all had tickets, and they had to come to one of us to get a ticket for the drink, which gave us the opportunity to talk to them. If you're running a solo event, which most of you would be at this point, in terms of hosting, they come to you to get the ticket. That ticket is good for the food or good for the bar or whatever it is. It's good for the concessions at the movie theater or whatever the thing may be. So that way you draw them in and you give them the opportunity. You make sure that you talk to everyone. So I've had some people say, oh my God, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to talk to everybody. Well, that solves the problem. I've also heard people say, I don't want to be the center of attention. And guess what? That solves the problem too, because they'll come to you, get their ticket and leave, and you're not the center of attention. So, and Bryce says sponsors are usually excited to work registration. Exactly. Yep, 100%. Sponsors make great people for registration. Also. So at the event, and then I had pictures. I messed up the pictures, but anyway. So there's some fun pictures from the events that we've done. So you see, and I really wanted a wide range here, right? So upper left, that was Margarita Mix and Mingle. One of the things we have found in doing the events is when people can sit down and eat something, when there are tables where they can sit, it's so much more impactful than if they have to stand and try to eat. We really like it when people sit. I There may be people that disagree with that from an energy perspective of having people sit, but that's where the conversations happen. And when conversations can really, when you're sitting, you're focused, right? You're not bouncing somewhere or no one can walk up and just interrupt a table full of people talking, right? So it's easier to have a deeper conversation and it forms more connection and your tribe becomes more connected to each other as a result of that. We found that when we were running the Movers and Shakers Collective, we really liked that component. So I share that to show that example. In the lower right, you see we had again a more intimate group. The point there being you don't have to have a huge event. You don't need to have 100 people at an event for it to be a success. It's not about the numbers, right? It's about the quality of the people in the room, and it's about giving a great experience to the people that are there, whether that's 3 people or 300 people at the end of the day, right? And then upper right, one of the components is have a photographer. So we actually had a photo booth, like that was brought. So we had people were able to take pictures that way, right? And then lower left is Still the World, all the zombie stuff. So very different tribes, different, small, big, have the pictures, right? So that's where the energy is. Energy's in the event, right? And then, all right, now remember, you've got a referral system at the event already. So they have an opportunity at check-in to give referrals. Then at after the event is where the follow-up is. Now, as said, most people don't do the follow-up. Well, here's the thing. This is why it's important not to just jump to another event. Some people are doing way too many events. And listen, I did 30 events in 2023. 30. Yeah, 30. Don't do that. Please
No.
not do 30 events. There is a magic number I'm going to get to, but the point is,
Come on,
if
Tommy. We had fun.
we did have fun. We did have fun. We did have fun. But and it was very difficult to follow up properly. And we were always to the next one. So it's really important in the follow-up. Like what happens is people do an event and then they're like on to the next thing, whatever that is, whether it's another event or it's some other thing that's going on in the next week. It's really important to block the time and treat the next week with the same amount of, or the next day, but if you're looking at weeks perspective, you've done all this work leading up to the event. You finally get to the event doesn't end at the event. The event ends when you finish the follow-up. So really you need 4 weeks, up to 4 weeks of follow-up to make sure that you're contacting everyone. And all you have to do is say, thanks for coming, right? What you appreciate appreciates. So if you appreciate them for coming, they're going to come back. And it's so incredibly important to the process. In addition to that, we do have a follow-up. There's another referral system in the follow-up. It's this follow-up survey where you can get an opportunity for referrals again. So even if they didn't give one there, now because they've come to the event, they have your business on their mind, even if you didn't really mention your business a lot, right?
Mhm.
So it's tuned now. Their reticular activator system is honed for your thing. So there is absolutely a possibility, not only after the event from your own communication, but also from the follow-up survey, that they'll give you a referral. Lynn Fischelli said most of her, in the early going especially, most of her referrals came in the follow-up from the event. They rarely came at the event themselves until eventually the tribe was sort of trained, and then they had more to, or just as it grew, then the capability to get referrals at the event actually grew. The one thing I didn't cover in the event sequence, I want to go back because this is important. The one thing I didn't cover in the event sequence is that when you're at the event, there is going to be a part where you, number one, highlight your sponsors. And number two, you do communicate that your business philosophy is referrals. So you're not asking for them verbally, but you are saying, hey, listen, I can make Zuckerberg richer, right? Or you can pick your common enemy, whatever you want it to be, right? I can make Zuckerberg richer, or I can pour that money into you guys, into the community. Is that good with you? Yeah, that's okay. And we're able to do that because of your referrals, which is the truth, because referrals don't have a cost to them, right? From a lead gen perspective, right? So you're taking what you would spend on advertising and pouring it back into your people, and then teaching them that, hey, the way we're able to do this because you guys are feeding your business, feeding our business, right? So there is that little bit that's put in there. It's ever so slight, and I've never had any pushback on it, right? So that's an important part to the component. And then also in terms of the sponsors, I want to touch on this because it's definitely a procedural thing that matters. Most of the time, sponsors, like, they get 60 seconds on the microphone, right, in front of the room. The problem is nobody cares, nobody's listening to their pitch. It's everyone's tuned out, right? I see it over and over and over again at this local event. It's just out, out, out. The difference with this is you don't give the microphone most of the time. You don't give the mic to the sponsor. You edify the sponsor. It's your endorsement to your tribe that holds value. And it's so much more impactful than when they stand up and talk about themselves. So the whole system is based on getting other people to talk about you, right? So that is another important element to like the event experience that I think it does ever so slight references to business without throwing up on them with business. That we want referrals, right? That we want business. So it's good. All right. Lastly, last one. You ready? Okay. Now, I said don't do a lot of events. That's true. There is a magic number. There is a magic number. So don't do a lot of events, but also don't do only one event. Because what I see a lot of the times is people will follow the system, they will do one event, they will get flooded with referrals, and then they don't do another event because they're flooded with referrals. And that's a mistake. What they should do is follow up on those events, but still be doing another event. Maybe they adjust who's at the event, maybe they adjust how many people are at the event, but they've got to keep, when you're super busy with referrals, the number one thing you have to do is focus on keeping your ambassadors, right? The people that are already referring you, you've got to stay in communication with those people. And the events are the best reason to stay in communication. So if you do your first event and you get flooded with referrals, then follow up and then plan a smaller event for your top people. That's the best way to do that. And that's tip number 6, is the secret is in the series. So I personally recommend, I'm not going to go into, we have 2 plans for this. I'm going to give you what I typically recommend. If you're starting in the system and you don't have a really huge referral business yet, but you have a database, getting on this cycle of quarterly events for your database for 2 or 3 rounds is going to give you a lot of clarity and build the momentum that you need. Now, if you've been in business for 25 years and 90% of your business already is referrals, then you don't need to do 3 events quarterly, right? You'll be fine. But your first event will blow up typically. So there are nuances to each individual person's business, but by and large, if you're super busy or you're getting keep your ambassadors ambassadoring by doing the quarterly events with them. And then when you come up for air, so to speak, right, when you increase your capacity in your business or whatever it is, then you can do a bigger event again. And that's a really, really important thing, because you kind of get caught in the messy middle sometimes with this. Like, this system takes you from problems of scarcity to problems of abundance. And anyone that's on here that's done it can certainly attest to that. And so you have to handle, how do you handle the problems of abundance? Well, you stick to the system, but don't stop doing what got you there. You just adjust it a little bit to make it fit for what you're trying to achieve. If that makes sense. So yes, also have your biggest yeah. Cool. So that is this is one of our plans. So this is basically doing quarterly events for your top people. Again, there's a total of 7 events. I don't want to muddy, but the point is, if you're busier, do small events. When you're not as busy, do a bigger event. And there's a whole sequence to all of that, right, at the core. So with that said, I want to stop. I want to pause there. Okay, so we got through the core. All right, 3 o'clock. We at least got through the core content there. So what did you guys pick up? Again, what's something that stood out? What's another insight from that?
Doing the quarterly events, not too many.
Yeah, good. Yay, awesome. I love it. Yes. Good, good, good.
The
Well,
reminder about edifying the sponsors and not just giving them the mic. That
yeah,
was that
yes.
was an aha moment.
Mm,
And
awesome.
gently, telling them you're there for for referrals. That's, this is why you're doing this, to have a fun event, as opposed to, like you said, spending money on leads and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Good, 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 good. Yeah. And then Miriam says events don't need to be educational.
yeah.
Definitely. Yes. Now, since you brought up the education, you could do education events and you can make them fun. You can have fun education events. Um, and that still often comes to most people will say, I want to add value. So they go, I'm going to do a investing seminar or how to plan your money or whatever. I'm thinking
Mhm.
of financial advisors because it's so common in that, but it happens in real estate too, right? Home buyer seminars, that kind of thing. Well, if you run the referral systems at your appreciation events that are fun for your tribe, and then you survey them on the door in the referral systems, and you ask what type of event would you be most interested in attending, and then give them educational topics. Then in the follow-up, invite only the people that indicated they were interested to
Mhm.
that event. A lot of you are here, were on my list for this event because we surveyed and you guys were like, we want to learn how to host fun events and get referrals. So lo and
Mhm.
behold, here we are, right? Now, some of you, that may have been quite a while ago, others it was more recent, but that is all tailored to what you actually want to learn. What people do is they go, I'm going to do this educational event, and then they kind of throw it out there and tell people about it, but they don't get a lot of people there because, and that doesn't mean it's not going to be effective, but when you're going to put all the energy and effort into an educational event, you want to really do want to make sure that it's worth the effort, right? So instead, you go, hey, come to the fun event. Oh, are you interested in this and this and this? And then just invite that targeted group. Then
Mhm.
post on social media that you're doing this educational event 100%, which is exactly what we did. We posted it on social, sent it out on Eventbrite, and communicated with the people that communicated at a higher level with
Mhm.
those who indicated they had an interest in learning how to host events. But so that definitely drew some other people that saw it or whatever, been following that kind of thing. But that wasn't the primary focus, was not to get people to this webinar entirely through just throwing it out on social media. It was targeted invitations, right? So I should say more like specific invitations. Yeah, sure, Pat. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I wanted to, before I go to the next thing, so Chris and Kathy, I wanted to, they were have them just share their story a little bit about going through this, because well, anyway, they could share where they started, but a lot of the things about the sponsors and just, they started a year ago. And so I think, listen, I've shared a lot of my experience and story and whatnot. I want you guys to hear from them what's happened in the last year, kind of where they were at and such. So yeah, Chris and Kathy, if you could just share like where you're at last year when you found us, right? When you found us, and then really we talked before about sponsors and how kind of that started to play out, and then what's happened kind of since then. Whatever you think is important.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of started in a similar situation to Tommy. We were in a hole. But we had initially gotten a coach because we wanted to do events. We thought events were great, and the coach we got, unfortunately, was teaching another system, you know,
Not her system.
not her system. So we went down the road of cold calling, door knocking, for sale, that kind of thing.
So
And
shame on me for not investigating.
yeah,
Well,
that got us nowhere. So after that year, we were kind of in a hole because of it. And then we read 7L and talked to Tommy and scraped together what we needed to be able to basically start pulling off our first event. And we're just like, okay, well, this sounds great. Let's see if it works. Because we're in the same position Tommy was. We're like, okay, and another guru? Okay, well, let's give it a shot. So we
event, I'm a former event planner, travel planner. That was my 30-year career. We've been in real estate for 8 years. So it sounded like something that came natural to us anyway. So
Mhm. So we basically tried to keep it very simple. We're like, okay, what does everybody like? How about pizza and beer? Let's do that. We got the use of
Simple.
a brewery that had just moved in and said, hey, you can use our event space free. Uh, so we started on that route and initially put together a list of probably 175 to 200 people that we liked, that we felt liked us, were past clients that have referred us some. And that's what we used to invite. And our first event last September was, we had an attendance of about 60, and we had 145 referrals.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was fantastic. We're like, ooh, yes, perfect. So rather than try and pull off another one at the end of that year, we decided
Sophia, Todd?
to do one in March.
but they only paid $100.
Yeah, we had 16 sponsors and each paid $100.
We didn't know what we were doing, so we weren't going to overcharge them because we didn't know who was going to show up and how many referrals. So we were just like, help
Yeah.
us out with $100 a piece
Yeah.
and we'll be good. So they, in a sense, they only paid $100 per person for that many referrals.
Yeah.
So
And from that, we made about $400, probably above and beyond what we needed to cover door prizes, pizza, beer, all of that stuff. Our second event in March, a, we went way bigger. We hired a live band. We had a hot dog truck. We had a Sunday, not Sunday, but
ice cream truck.
ice cream truck. We're rented out a park.
One of our former clients is in a band, so we asked him if they would come and help us out, and they charged us, but they were there for us, so
Yep.
that made it easy to have a band there.
And he had a hot dog cart, so he threw his wife on the hot dog cart while he was. So,
Love
and
it.
that one was $300 per sponsor. And we had 10 sponsors and we made about $500 ourselves once we covered the $2,500 to get all of that. So that event we had, because that one was family friendly as well. We had 50 adults, and probably 30 kids, so total attendance 80, and about 60 referrals were passed on that one.
Our first one, we actually, when you were talking about charities, Tommy, we did the food drive. It was September, and here in Clayton, we have a student from Clayton High School that actually made it to the major leagues, and he came home and has started a turkey drive. They get about 300 turkeys from the Archer Foundation. And so she said, so the food bank said, with your September party, that would be a great time for us to be able to get the fixins to go along with the turkey. So we did that. We had everybody bring the stuffing and the corn and all of that. Well, we thought we were going to have a small table with like a pyramid of food to have a pretty picture. No, everybody came with like 6 bags each full of these fixings.
Mm.
The picture wasn't pretty, but it was impactful.
Yeah, we thought it was cute. By the table where they signed up, we had a
Mhm.
6-foot round table. We're like, oh yeah, we'll stack the cans of cornbread and the cans of vegetables, we'll put it there. They wound up filling 2 8-foot long rectangle tables. So about 16 feet worth of food that was brought to that. So it went off way better. And the second one we did in March was for Isaiah 117 house. And they're changing the way foster care begins. So we did pajama drive for them. And they also had a table full of just all kinds of different pajamas.
And those were sizes from infant all the way up to adult. So that was an impactful picture as well.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. So tell me, I remember you talked about on the sponsor thing was like you didn't want sponsors and then you end up getting sponsors for the first events. Take me through that, how that went.
So I always envisioned having like pie days and that sort of thing, but the way that I was being trained was to ask your lender or ask your title person, which we don't really have a title person because we're a closing attorney state and the attorney chooses their title. So we don't really have that relationship or a home warranty or something, but I give choices to our clients. So that kind of divides up where that business goes if you're giving the 3 referrals that you're supposed to for your transactions. So we didn't feel like that we had enough business going to one particular person to be able to say, hey, can you help us sponsor this event? And, you know, like my Pi Day. So with your methods and with his BNI connections and our chamber connections, we're into deep on both of those groups. We were able to actually find people. So it changed our thinking of finding people that people will want to use that are not necessarily tied to real estate, like the dog wash company, the
Yeah.
blind company, that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
Yeah, we had a lot of back off because we didn't feel like we were offering anything to them
mhm.
other than, hey, give me your money to help pull off my event.
Yeah, and my next buyer, I'll give it to you. You know.
And we
Yeah.
didn't, there's no way we wanted to go down that road and be out exchange with somebody like that. So this system, Michael J. Mayer's system, I can approach it took it away. So now we can
Mhm.
talk to any sponsor we want because I know you're gonna get on the door prize entry form, you get a question, you get referrals. I get to hand you referrals and work to get referrals for you.
And
So
it gives us a sense of purpose also in that we're helping feed and bless other people with those referrals. So we're helping build other businesses. So that kind of changes the mindset on that I get, which I trip up a lot on that. Is that I don't like to ask for business. I'd rather help somebody else. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had the same thing where I was afraid to ask for the money for the sponsorship. So it wasn't until after my first event when I saw that I was truly generating for the others. I went, oh my gosh. And then naturally people want to, they're like, hey, do you need help with the next one? Like whatever you're doing, I'm in, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, but there's a mental thing there where when you know you're gonna have these referral systems in place, it's easier to make the ask to, to have the sponsored conversations. Right, especially.
and then you pushed us recently to do the sponsorship program. So now we
Yes,
have
next level.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Now we're rocking and rolling.
people for $1,200. Are you crazy? And then
Yeah, that's right.
I kept putting it off and putting it off. And finally he had a BNI meeting last Tuesday. So I was like, and you kept pushing us because we meet with you Monday. And so I'm like, well, I've got to get this done this afternoon so that he can take it to BNI with him. So I just sat down and kind of followed other people's and put one together. And he took it to BNI the next morning and he got what, 2 that said yes right then and
2
there.
people that'll
Yeah.
Yeah,
hey, I'll take your top level.
top level. So
And that comes from the consistency
Mhm.
of consistently doing the events and building the reputation around the events where it truly becomes, oh, you're doing sponsorship, yeah, give me information. You hand them 3 levels and they choose what works for them and they're like, I'm in for this. It's like, great, I'll send you the invoice, give me your logo. Like if you don't have it already, right? It's such an effortless transaction, but it's the one area that people definitely typically have the most like they're unsure about. It's the sponsor component. But the other part of that is when you have people, and you guys are starting to see this too, is that as you have people around you that know the system, then the more that they know what's going on, they're more they're just more willing to buy into it, and you have more capability even beyond your local areas, right? Like people that if you've got a business, like Kelly mentioned that she sponsored an event. Deborah Kay, who couldn't be on, she had an inspection today, but Kelly sponsored an event for 150 bucks, got 16 referrals for business. Like if you're and that's a business that can be done anywhere. So it's a national business, right? So if you're national and you have this system and you have connections that are national, you can go to your national, anyone that's got a national business and say, hey, I can help in this area, right? So you have the capability even beyond your local level if you have people that have a business that are national. There's also, and flip side, if you are a business who is national, like pay attention to the people running the system. That's all I'm saying, right? There's massive opportunity in collaborating that way. So I just want to encourage that. So
One of the things too that we found was we'd started a BNI in July, or about the same time we started doing this. So it kind of gave me a captive audience to be able to say, hey, sponsor and I can pass some referrals to you guys.
yeah,
Not everybody in my BNI sponsored.
yeah,
I also went outside of the BNI.
we cross BNI's, our sister chapters, we go to them.
Yeah. And one of the things, I don't know if anybody's in a BNI, but one of the things that they track is called thank you for closed business. And it's a dollar value of the people that I've referred people to. It tracks that money. And in a year's time, that thank you for closed business for me is $50,000 that of business that I've given to somebody else as
Mhm.
a result of, all of those, 145 and 60 referrals. Not all of those were to BNI people, but just the BNI people, it's been 50 grand.
Yeah.
So just to know that we've been able to give other people 50 grand worth of business, whether they were dog sitters or HVAC people or electricians or roofers or, whatever they were, we were able to help somebody else. And
Yeah.
that to us is just phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. Well, good. Well, thank you. I'm gonna roll. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And you guys have you're implementers to the core. And that's the foundation. You know what Michael tells me, like, be yourself and help them implement. Like he tells me that all the time. And this is really truly a system where if you just freaking do the system, you're gonna win. And the thing about it is we're not asking you to get out of your comfort zone and fight through the fear of door knocking and bothering people. And we're asking you to like be more loving. Like getting out of the comfort zone is like, how can you be more generous? And how
Mhm.
can you be more appreciative? And I'll tell you, a lot of times being more appreciative is out of the comfort zone because it's not always, it doesn't always come easy. But that's where the real true stretch of the comfort zone is. But anyway, point is you implement and just do the system and it works, right? Which I think is the quote that I have in in the picture of the success story for you too. So you're rocking it. You're on the next phase. So hope you all can see that, hey, right from the get-go, but then the consistency over time
Yeah.
is right, and then starting to build this where now you're going into full-blown profit, you're getting a yearly program, and it just keeps going up, right, as you go along. So we had the question, how are you handling getting referrals electronically? Yeah, uh, it happens in the invite system, and then at the event it can be paper or invite or electronic, and then afterwards it's electronic.
But is there a particular like reach? Is there a particular electronic thing that you're using, like SurveyMonkey or whatever, to get the referrals, or
Yeah, like Bryce said, Google Form. Yeah,
Google Form?
yeah, Google Form at the front end, or Greenvelope is the invitation system that I use.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
then and then also on the back end is Google Form also.
Then we do, for an introduction, once we gather all of those paper forms from the party, from the event, Chris does the email introduction. And so Johnny Beasley with our HVAC, he'll get all of his 10 here, contact this one, contact, right? Yeah, contact
Mhm.
this one.
So it's a personal handoff from me because it's all
Yeah.
part. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody at the party, we know them.
That's
So
awesome.
the referrals coming from me in a three-way handoff. So that kind of gives more weight to the referral.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's the opposite of what I said. It goes to the client with the 4 vendors. That way you're not giving out your client's information.
Right.
Yes, it
Yeah.
goes to the client and
The-
then all 4 vendors.
And
These are where the questions you said yes to. Here's Johnny from HVAC, AJ from who's an electrician. Here's the people you wanted to be connected to.
Yeah.
So my vendors, not vendors, but my sponsors, 16 sponsors. We had some people have 16 referrals,
Nice.
14 referrals. The lowest was the guy that only focused on Medicare and he got 2. So everybody got
Oh,
referrals.
yeah.
But some people wound up getting 16 emails that afternoon because they had 16 different people want their service.
Yeah.
But you only sent it to the customer, right? Your guest.
And I CC'd those vendors, yeah.
Oh, you did. You CC'd the vendor. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
But the email technically was sent to the person at the party that said, I needed these 4
Mhm.
services. Yeah.
Got it.
All right, good. So I'm gonna wrap up here. So I'm gonna pull up the so thank you, Chris and Kathy, and for sharing. It's super helpful, and hope you all got a lot to just hear from 2 people that are implementing at a high level, right? That's the idea. So all right, so I'm gonna pull up the screen one more time. Okay, so here's what I've got. So normally to do an event, you have to take something called Event Mastery class, which is Michael's 8-week class. But the challenge, well, he only runs it live 3 times a year. And what I see is first of all, there's never a bad time to do an event. There's a lot of great times to do an event. And this time in the year, I think is really, really unique because there's 6 months left in the year. You're not going to do anything in late December. So you have the capability right now, because of the time of the year that it is, to still get 2 events in before the end of the year that can really create momentum. So what I was really looking back, and this is actually how Chris and Kathy started exactly this way. I thought, how do I create something that can support people that want to get on the event train? Because Event Mastery class started at the beginning of June. It's too late to catch up with the class, but I just see this capability for people to do these events and get the second half of the of the year really cooking, and that momentum then will carry you into 2026. I can't believe that just came out of my mouth, because I mean, we're already talking about next year, right? The year is halfway over. So I put something together. I'm calling it the Upgrade Event Accelerator Program. So what this is, you already know referrals flow through relationships, and the fastest way to deepen those relationships is bringing the people together. So his class gives you the blueprint. We've gone through basically the 5 sequences the class takes you through. The accelerator adds on the coaching, accountability, and the habits to implement it over event. So this is about, because what we find is a lot of people want to do an event, but especially getting through the planning sequence, that typically becomes where the biggest challenge is. So I'm putting a really strong focus on making sure to get people to the point, help them get to the point where those invitations go out. Once the invitations go out, everything else, honestly, is fairly simple. It's just about getting that support to get that out there, right? So here's what it looks like. Basically, you get access to the event mastery. I'm calling them modules instead of weeks. And the reason is, I'm not saying you have to do an event in the middle of this month or this particular time. I'm just going, go through the steps and do the event. And you're not going to get everything. You're not going to do it at 100%. I still don't do it at 100%. But like, you're going to learn enough and then get better next time, right? And it's a skill. So these 8 modules are going to fill in all those gaps, right? So the first, we have planning mastery, which we talked a lot about, but it takes you through all the specifics of the plan, so that and getting to the point of getting those invitations out. Like, the objective of that module is get those invitations out and have your list, know at least your sponsor, or at least know your charity, get the invitation designed. How are you going to collect RSVPs, and date, time, location, and venue, and get it out the door? Okay, that's module 1. Module 2, we cover invitation mastery and the RSVP system. So he gives specific scripts on how to do invitation, different methodologies for invitation, everything you need, and the RSVP system. Actually, it shouldn't say RSVP system, it should say referral system number 1, getting that built into the invite, right? The third module is sponsor and partner mastery. He gives you exact templates to send out to your database to get people to raise their hand to sponsor your event. So it's let me put it this way. We didn't have that when I started. So these are improvements that have been made over the last 6 months or so in the class. So exactly there. And then just in general, how to partner. He talks about charity, just how to go through all of that. Again, a lot of templates and whatnot. Okay, module 4, sorry, charity mastery and phone call mastery. So for those that don't want to bother people, we go through exactly how to get people on the phone, what voicemail to leave to get them to call you back, so that you're having conversations. Remember, you want to be up that influential zone. So it gives you everything that you need to conquer phone reluctance, to get the calls done, and to ensure that you're driving up that attendance. Now, what's interesting is, the more attendance you get, the more RCPs you get, the more energy you have, the easier it is to get more sponsors, right? Because when week 1, you're like, I've got 5 RCPs, and then week 3, you've got 30, and then week 6, you've got 100. Like, it's pretty easy to go like, hey, we've got this event. Yeah, it's coming up. It's in 2 weeks. We've got 100 RSVPs. Like, you interested in sponsoring? Like, would that be of any interest? I mean, people are blown away by that. So when you know your numbers in advance, it actually goes back to making your partnerships easier when it comes to sponsors at the end of the day. All right, then appreciation mastery. So we talked about it being based on love, generosity, and appreciation, but how do we really pour that into every element of the sequence and every element of the event to really raise it up, right? So that's a newer thing that he's added that I'm really loving. Confirmation mastery, gave you some of that, but again, how to confirm, and then the event experience. He goes over more specifics into how to do the event and the second referral system, the door prizes. And then module 8 is a follow-up mastery and the referral system. He tells you exactly who to follow up with, in what order, on priority, so that you focus first on the people where there's most opportunity, and then you work through that over the course of your 4 weeks. So those are the 8 modules of recorded trainings from Michael J. Mayer. Okay. Then what we're doing is layering on top of that 6 months of weekly group coaching. So we do implementation hot seats. So you get feedback on invite scripts, everything that questions on sponsors. Like, I'm there as a resource, number 1, to answer your questions. And then number 2, you're also getting help from the community, because people like Chris and Kathy are on there. Deborah K wasn't here, but she's on that call. We've got other people that are implementing the system at a high level that can also contribute. And that oftentimes becomes just a really great value add, because you're hearing from other people that go, oh, I had that problem. This is what I did to solve it. I found that to be the case. And that might be a different perspective than mine. And that's okay. So you get the community component, accountability. So I track like, hey, how are you at with RSVPs? Where are you at in the process? Doing good? What are your costs? Are you at break even? That's always the goal, is to at least get to break even on your events. So go through that. We track all of that. Real-time problem solving. That's obvious. Again, asking questions. And then again, the community, getting access to the community, and also the private Facebook group, which we, so you can always ask questions there in addition to adding the calls. Then what I've done is added a bonus, and I'm some bonuses for you. So first thing is, we mentioned Greenvelope in the invitation sequence. You can use my Greenvelope account to send your event invitations for your first event. So you can run your entire event through my Greenvelope system. Many of you received a Greenvelope invitation to this event, so you've experienced it on the front end. It has all the features that you need to easily track and get the referrals and all the things that you need as a system. And we have the training for Greenvelope built into those modules. So there's dedicated videos that I recorded on how to set up the event, and then also how to manage the event, all in Greenvelope. Normally, if you're going to send out 150 invites, it'll cost you $250 or $300 to use Greenvelope. So you're getting that. You can use my account for your event and save that money for your first event, at least. Okay. We also have Canva templates. So the sponsor program that I showed you, that is just a template. You can rebrand it, readjust it according to your value prop, and then roll that out. Even if it's your first event, you can create one that is just a single event sheet, but you can still have something there that literally just change a few things and it's good to go. The door prize form, which is for at the event, we've got multiple different templates that you can use, and then invitation templates as well. So if you choose something simple like Nacho Average Happy Hour, you have it already done. You just change a few things and you're good to go. So we do everything we can to try to make it easy for you, especially on that first event, because we want your focus to be on the communication more so than the logistics. So the more we can make that easier for you to do, then you're going to have a better result with the event. Right. Okay, the other thing, some of you have squirrel syndrome. I know, because I'm the same way, right? So you have a lot going on, you're busy, you're producing, you got other responsibilities with your business. So there is a upgrade your day kind of training or program I did that is how to keep your mind clear and focused every day, so that you keep the main thing, and that you keep progressing through that. So, okay, all good. You keep progressing through that, okay? And then lastly, the Upgrade Networking Accelerator. So if you are doing a lot of networking and you're not getting a lot of referrals, or you're like really wanting to build your sponsors out well, or meet more potential sponsors, the networking accelerator gives you step by step how to go meet people, build a relationship with them, and you can absolutely foster that relationship to the point of sponsorship for your events. Okay, so you'll get that also included. So you get all the networking. I wish I would have had that when I started, let me tell you. So this program, it's $14.97 pay in full or $297 a month. So you save, basically you get 1 month free if you do it pay in full. There's more bonuses, but I don't want to like overwhelm, but trust me, there's a lot more resources. But what the point of this is, focus on doing an event. Now, here's the thing. You notice there's no link to buy, and here's why. I want to make sure you have a plan for you based on the size of your database, where your business is at, what amount of networking, like what does it all look like? Because it can be different. As I mentioned, it's different for each person. So what I want you to do is just, if you're wanting to do an event and you're interested in this and you're interested in possibly coming into the program, just text me. That's my actual cell phone. That is not Project Broadcast. That's my actual phone sitting right next to me. Just text me 407-225-5565. I know there's a lot of fives. And then we'll just set up a time to talk and make sure that we have a clear path for you to make sure it's a good fit. And kind of what I really want to do also with that is help you lay out, like, what does the rest of the year look like based on what you've got on? Maybe you've got vacation coming or things like that. How can we work around that? So I really want to help you create the plan. I love doing it. It's truly a passion of mine to help you like get this plan in place and then just go freaking do it, because it works. And I want to help you win. So okay, cool. So 407-225-5565. Let me throw that up there. And with that, any questions on anything? I'm going to come off I put my number in the chat there, but any questions on anything, or anyone have anything they want to share before, or sorry, we're 4 over. So I apologize. I want to give one more last thing and I'll close it down. So yes, Bryce.
Real quick, I just want to say I've done dozens upon dozens upon dozens of events with Tommy and helped a lot of his clients. The one thing I can tell you is I'm chomping at the bit the entire time we're listening to this, because I keep trying to say, Tommy, you got to tell them about this. Tommy, you got to help them with this. Tommy, they need to know this. And the reason that happens is because this system is so comprehensive and there are so many facets to it that he didn't have time to go over. It is really important for you to understand that this is just a microcosm of what you can do. Chris and Kathy, they're nodding their head. Georgie's nodding her. This is an amazing system. And you guys, if you get a chance to work with Tommy, he's going to help you maximize your results with events.
Thank you, Bryce. Your check's in the mail.
And then just to add to that, I mean, the system is so simple. I mean, this week you're sending out an invite. Next week you're sending text messages. Next week you're making phone calls. And just every single week, watch the video and do exactly what it says. And it works like crazy. I mean, it's that simple, really.
It really is that simple. Simplistic. I mean, that's what I love about Michael's brain, is he's all about maximize and simplify, and just get it down to the core thing. And so many times I think we just want it. We do all these different things, and it's like, yeah, we'll be like, just tell me what to do. Just show me what to do and I'll do it. Okay, well, there's a total plan. That's the magic kind. So cool. All right, awesome. Well, with that, thank you everyone for coming. Like I said, shoot me a text if you want to look at jumping in. And like I say, even if you're not sure what it will, set up a plan. Maybe you're have some other things going on. Maybe you need to do some networking first, like to really build. That's fine too. So whatever it is, we'll make it work. Just shoot me a text and we'll set time to talk. So sound good? Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. And you need anything, feel free to reach out.